Anne, please. You don't have to do this.
Yes, I do. There's only one place left for me to go. And you're the price of admission.
I'm sorry that you lost all you had. But I know, in some way, I can help get it back.
I think it's time we finally uncover what A and B mean. I've seen some stuff float around the community, but apart from that, nothing. Even when showrunners are confronted about it, the questions get evaded, because we will undoubtedly get a big reveal in the Rick Grimes movies. But it's only as we uncover it ahead of time that it could give us an insight to where Rick Grimes is. So we're going to look at all the times A and B were mentioned, and all the times we've seen this particular helicopter. And by the end of the video, we will have an idea of who these people really are. Of course, before this video starts, make sure you follow me on Twitter and Instagram, and you are subscribed to the channel to be entered into the Negan and Glenn action figure giveaway. It ends on the 29th of May, and the winner will be revealed in the nearest video to that day. Good luck. So I've had my theories about who these people are. Quite a few videos that I have made are about where it could be, and whether these people are good or bad, and how a lot of things we've seen from these people point to that they're bad, and considering Rick has been taken by them, is not looking good for him. Now the first time we hear of these people is in season 7 episode 10. Just after Rick meets Winslow, he stands on top of the garbage heap and looks down at the other characters, and behind him we see for the first time this helicopter. Now Rick has seen a helicopter before in season 1 in Atlanta, but that was actually the military helicopter that the governor would later see. We see that same helicopter crash landed in season 3. The governor finds these soldiers' names who crashed on the site so he could hijack a military camp. The next time Rick would see this helicopter, however, is season 8 episode 5. Exactly a season later, in season 9 episode 5, the same helicopter would save Rick from death. Now let's look at the first time we hear of A and B. In season 8 episode 6, Jadis locks Rick inside a shipping container. The container is marked with the letter A. However, in the next episode, episode 7, Jadis tries to get Rick bit by a walker. Rick manages to get the upper hand, preventing himself from getting bit, and Rick makes a deal with Jadis. Jadis' next victim is Negan. In the second half of season 8 episode 14, Jadis knocks Negan out, kidnaps him, and ties him up. Negan is initially locked up in a similar container to where Rick was, so it's safe to assume Negan is also an A. Now she tries to get Negan bit by a walker. Having learned from Rick escaping the bite from last time, Negan is now tied up. After the helicopter arrives and fails to see Jadis, Negan manages to talk himself out of it. Years later, in season 9 episode 3, Jadis is told by these people that she needs an A. Gabriel overhears this conversation. When he confronts her, Jadis is forced to admit that she has traded people for supplies for her people. Now that Gabriel has found out, Jadis tries to convince Gabriel to help her get that A. She says there's another place. It's far from here, but if we go together, we can get there. She tries to persuade Gabriel to join her in this different life. Gabriel declines and says that he needs to tell Rick. Jadis starts to panic, shouting, "All this time I thought you were a B." She then knocks Gabriel out. In the next episode, we see Gabriel. He wakes up tied up in the exact same way as Negan, also trying to get him bit by a walker just like Negan. Jadis reveals that Gabriel is now an A, and just like Negan, he manages to talk himself out of it. He persuades Jadis to let him go. Jadis chloroforms Gabriel and then disappears after that. So they are the 3 people that Jadis has tried to trade. Now Heath has been very, very heavily hinted to be an A or a B as well. We see Jadis drive his RV, and Angela Kang has very, very strongly hinted that he has a story in place if Corey Hawkins was to return. It's not confirmed at all, but it's very, very strongly hinted. There was a theory that A meant leader and B meant follower, but considering Rick turned out to be a B, that's very, very unlikely. Unless Jadis said Rick was a B because people that are a B get different treatment, but that's very unlikely considering she tried to get all the A's bitten. That's a common theme with these 3 people. All people considered an A are people she tries to get bit. Gabriel was a B until he suggested he was going to tell Rick of her operation. So when Jadis says, "All this time I thought you were a B," the translation for that is, "All this time I thought you were going to come with me." The only reason Gabriel went from a B to an A is because A's get bit. She knew that Gabriel was clearly not going to go with her, so she had to kill him or her operation would be blown. So that's what we know now. A's get bit. A's get kidnapped and A's get bit. This unknown organization wants bitten people. That's what an A means. I know what you're thinking. If they wanted an A, why not simply get someone bit? Walkers are everywhere. Go out and get someone bit like that. Well, Jadis says to Gabriel they can have a life like they can't imagine. So a life of luxury. The place where Rick has gone, there's probably not going to be any walkers there. It might even be a part of the world that is unaffected by the apocalypse. So why would they want an infected person? If there aren't any walkers near them, why bother? Well, I've said this in all my other videos for a while now. I believe these people are experimenting for the cure. The easiest thing for them to turn to would be animals, but animals can't turn. We've seen animals die over the series, so they can't experiment on something that doesn't turn for the cure. So this organization reaches out to outsiders. They make a deal, they make a trade. They get someone bit, you trade them off so they can experiment on them. We've seen these people are very secretive, so it makes sense for them to be getting other people to get other people bit. But what about a B? We know that A may mean infected, but what does B mean? Well, what stopped Gabriel from being a B and turning into an A was willingness to go with Jadis. He refused to go with Jadis and live this different life. He wanted to go and tell Rick. So she had to turn him into an A and get rid of Gabriel, otherwise her operation would have been known. But what made Rick a B? Well, Rick didn't really have much say if he was an A or a B. He was just injured and really near death. And of course, B's go with Jadis. B's get taken care of. So instead of Jadis trying to hijack the helicopter, she saw someone who could pass as a B just to save Rick. I really don't think B means injured, I just think Rick happened to be injured and Jadis used the fact he was a B to save him. I also disagree with the leader and follower theory, because Jadis was trying to get the A's bit. Once someone is bitten, I don't think it matters if they're a leader or not. So that's just my take on A and B. I didn't want to go too into where I think Rick is or what will happen to Rick because I made a video about that last week and that will be on the top right of your screen right about now. Just tap or click on that and you can watch a video all about where I think Rick is and what will happen to him. It is really strange how we've really been kept in the dark about Rick Grimes. We're being told Rick Grimes is going to have a movie trilogy. Then we're being told we're going to see Abraham's prequel story. And now they're telling us Michonne's leaving. I mean, Michonne makes more sense. I do believe she's going to leave the main show for the pure focus, for the pure reason of finding Rick. But what's interesting about that is what will make her want to leave for good. We saw shortly after Rick left, in episode 14, Michonne and Daryl have looked for Rick. They've looked for days and days, so it's going to be really interesting to see what makes her want to actually go and look that far. What's interesting is Gabriel knows about this helicopter thing. No one's mentioned that Jadis has also left. That's around the exact time Rick did. And of course, Negan saw it too. Now, Negan knows a bit less than Gabriel does, but what's interesting is Gabriel and Negan both have a connection together. They're almost a recurring duo. And it's funny that these two characters are pretty much the only ones with at least a bit of knowledge on this helicopter in the show. Especially with Gabriel being so high up in Alexandria now. I do think Michonne will find out from Gabriel and Negan that the helicopter exists. And Jadis has something to do with it and left at the same time. But let me know in the comments, do you think this is what A and B mean? What do you think will make Michonne leave the show? How will she know Rick's out there? And do you think Rick will return? On the top right of your screen, an eye icon will pop up right about now. Just click or tap on that and you'll be able to vote in the poll. But of course, comment down below what you think A and B means. I think it's really likely that it means bitten and friendly. Of course, A meaning bitten, B meaning friendly. And I disagree with the leader and the follower theory. I mean, it's possible. Some videos are going to pop up on your screen in about 10 seconds. If you want to know more about Rick, of course, check out last week's video about Rick's shock return. We talk about where he could be, what kind of people these helicopter people are, and how sinister it really is that Rick was taken. I don't think it's great. And if you want to see another theory video, quite a big one, make sure to check out the Lonely Walker theory. The whole theory basically suggests that the Lonely Walker foreshadows Rick's ending. And of course, yesterday's video about the new Walker. I think I may have found a picture of what this new Walker could be. Pretty scary. And of course, the top 10 worst The Walking Dead characters. Check that out if you want to comment your worst characters list, and it's just a pretty funny video. Make sure to like this video if you enjoyed it, and if you want to support me in a more personal way, then check out the George Drake Patreon. For as little as $1 per month, you can get a big shout out in all my videos and loads of other cool stuff, so check that out. Make sure to subscribe so that you're the first to hear about The Walking Dead. Thanks for watching, see you soon.